Hi, everyone. Welcome to Special Ed, IEPs, 504s, Oh My, Conversations with DCCAC. I'm your host, Aleia Mastroianni. One of the hard truths of special education or the disability world, for many of our kids, traditional sports and activities don't always work out. And that can be really hard as a parent to watch. It can feel like just another closed door or barrier between the typical childhood that you had imagined for your child and reality. And let's be honest, it hurts. When you want them to have that amazing sense of belonging, to be part of a team, to make friends, and to be celebrated, and to have a place where they can just be themselves. So, today we're talking about something that does create those opportunities for our children: community, confidence, friendship, and belonging. And that's Special Olympics. Many people may have heard of Special Olympics or even thought about signing their child up, but they weren't sure what the requirements were for the program, or would it be able to support their child's specific needs. Well, this podcast is for you. We're here to explore all things Special Olympics. Today, we're talking with Maricela Shukie, a senior director of Unified Champions Schools, which is within Special Olympics. And we're excited to learn about the Special Olympics organization, how families can get involved, and how this can be a lifelong opportunity for individuals with disabilities. Hi, Sela. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Me too. Let's just jump right in with a definition for parents who may have heard of, and I was one of those parents. I kept hearing about Special Olympics, even kept hearing about Unified, and I was like, what is all of this?
Exactly. I think an interesting thing about Special Olympics is we all have different points of entry. And so it means a lot of things to a lot of different people because it is so all-inclusive, and it's been around since the late 60s. And it's really changed as society has changed. The Special Olympics Colorado is the state chapter, so the Special Olympics worldwide. Obviously, Colorado's the best state. We have the best Special Olympics programming out there. But as you mentioned in my title, I work in Unified Champion Schools specifically. But Special Olympics is bigger than that. Special Olympics has programming for ages 2 until whenever you want to retire. The oldest athlete I saw compete was in snowshoeing. I want to say she was late 70s, but I've heard of some even older in swimming. It's for a lifetime. And yes, it's definitely sports. That's where it started. We're in 23 sports here in Colorado. A lot of the snow sports, but there's over 400 events throughout the year. 4 different seasons: fall, winter, spring, summer. But the other part of Special Olympics is beyond the sports. So me, personally, I love sports, big fan, all the things, played my whole life. But my favorite part about sports wasn't the actual sport. It was everything else. The teammates, the coach, friendships you made, experiences, travel, all of that. Like any sport, Special Olympics is beyond just that. So there's the community, the social aspect. Outside of sports, we have leadership. So athlete leadership once you're over 18. But for our youth, there's a youth activation committee. So middle school and high schoolers learning how to really take ownership over building their own inclusive schools. Like, what can they do in their own school to make it more inclusive? So it's all the things.
It's big. Yeah. I love that. Not a sports person.
It's okay. I still love you.
I know. But what really chimes with me is I was a theater kid and I was a theater teacher. And yes, the plays are amazing. Yes, the theater is amazing. But everything that's embedded in it is what grounded my life as a teenager. That's what I went to school for. I feel like, especially with my daughter, she doesn't have that. She doesn't have that grounding thing. But where we have sort of inched in as well is through Unified. Here's a random question I'm just throwing off the cuff. When we go to our local rec centers and we're in their adaptive sports, is that them, or is that still associated in some way with Special Olympics or Unified?
Both.
So
nice. Sometimes there's our Castle Rock Parks and Rec is amazing, and they have a lot of therapeutic rec. So they will have, I believe my daughter was in the same dance. Did they do the same Zumba dancing, right?
Yes.
Which wasn't specific to Special Olympics. It's with people of all different neurodiversity, participate and learn.
Yes.
What I like about Special Olympics is there's different levels. There's like the very beginning, recreational, developmental. You're 2 years old, you're still waddling around. So kicking a soccer ball is a lot, right? So there's skill development. But as they get older too, and we have people who win a game and lose a game. And it's important to be a good winner and a good loser. All of those things that take time, and to be pushed out of a comfort level, to be pushed to maybe be a captain or a hydration captain. But one of the things that I wanted to come back to real quick is you talked about theater.
Yes.
So with Special Olympics, you have the community teams. You can go play with Parks and Rec. And then with the schools, our goal, sure, it's sports and everything, but we want every school to be a school for everybody, right? Our kids too, kind of a thing, right? It's our school too, is what I say a lot. So whatever the school does, my dream is that there's a way to accommodate and include everyone. Not exactly the same, because we're not exactly the same. You look at your typically developing students, you don't have a lead role for everyone, and that's okay. There's something to be learned from that, right? Not everyone can start.
Yes, it's a big thing to learn.
But we have unified theater, unified cheer, unified eSports for the folks that I don't want to get out on the grass and that sensory overload. With the schools, the leadership, some of my favorite schools were the ones that they have. Like you have your typical student government. Well, they have a unified pair on student government to be able to speak towards the needs of all the students, including those that might be in the SSN room.
School inclusion on all of those levels. I love it. I love the idea of having a pair, like an organized, always pair.
And that kind of gets to unified. You were mentioning how you were kind of confused about all the different terms. So there's a lot of terms. If we're good at anything in special education, it's coming up with terminology and acronyms, right?
Yes. Yes. So tell us, how is unified different from Special Olympics?
So Special Olympics started back in the 60s, and it was just for individuals with intellectual disabilities, intellectual development disabilities. And it was great, new opportunities, but just that population with then some volunteers. 18 years ago, Unified Schools was called Project Unify back in the day. And Colorado was one of the first states to do it. So there's a cluster of states like, yeah, we'll try this. Let's give it a shot. And now we're almost 20 years in, and we're in over 800 schools in the state of Colorado, which is a lot of schools, right? Preschool through college. This unified terminology came about because we didn't want it to be like, oh, just them, those kids. So unified is when you take an athlete, someone with an intellectual disability. So like Nadia, she has Down syndrome. She's a Special Olympics athlete. And then her typically developing sister, Sophia, is a partner, and they're only 15 months apart, and they can play on the same team together, which, gosh, when Nadia was first born, I didn't know that existed. It did. I just didn't know it was there. I thought, oh, well, Nadia will never be on the same soccer team as Sophia. And that's just not true, which is amazing, right? Because of this unified, and we call them a partner, and we really want it to be like an equity thing. So one is not better than another. The partner is there to enjoy and learn and do all the things with their peer, with their athlete. And there's a lot of schools that do, I think they call it partner PE. Sometimes it's called unified PE. Every school has where they're in PE classes together. And it's one of my kids' favorite times. Like, oh, I did partner PE. We did kickball today. We did floor hockey the next day. And it's just a PE class. And you have these amazing PE teachers that are able to adapt and create this class where, of course, I see things through the lens of my daughter, who's the athlete. But think about the whole school gets to learn from her, right? And all the gifts that our special needs kids have, they get to share.
So much.
We create these more empathetic human beings, which we all know we need.
Literally, this is one of my core tenets of becoming a parent of a child with special needs and learning that they're giving more back to us. We call my daughter the gooey center of our family, in that she keeps us all soft in the best way. There's something that we all protect and wrap around. I feel so strongly about this within the school system. What I love about our neighborhood schools is by bringing our kiddos in with all of their cool differences, it creates this not just acceptance, but this love and softness of, these are people in our community. These
Protect our own.
Exactly. And there was an incident at my daughter's school yesterday where a student was just really losing it and having a hard time. And these things happen. And everyone is calm. The students all move away. And there's this respect that's built in that if you're not exposed to special needs, you don't necessarily know how to respond, but you build better humans by keeping our kids in there. It's one of my core beliefs.
Well, what's interesting too, a lot of schools that don't have a special needs population You'll find them mostly here in Douglas County, but you think like rural areas, they might have one person with an intellectual disability if you're in a town of 300, right? So a lot of schools are like, oh, well, if we don't have any special needs kids, then we can't do it. That's incorrect because you can still learn, right? So we have every March a Spread the Word campaign. It started to spread the word to end the word, the R word, any sort of derogatory term. Let's just use kind words, period.
Exactly.
And you can do that in any school. So we have private schools, charter schools who will take part in that. We even have private schools who will partner with a local community and find athletes to bring onto their campus so that their students can be exposed to more diversity and learn all the wonderful things that we know about our kids.
I did not know that. I love to hear that private schools are out there actively acknowledge the beauty of our population and want that for their students to say, hey, we want you to have as much exposure to the world as possible.
Yeah.
That's super cool. So unified sports, how I've experienced it is there's usually, and for parents out there, it varies per school because you have to have a coordinator at the school who's willing to do it. And so like all things, when you have programs, you have to have a teacher available. Is it funded through that school? Would that school's budget pay for that person's time?
Yes, for the person's time, but especially with Colorado, we are able to provide some support, especially sort of like seed money, like getting got off the ground, equipment, those types of things.
When I first came in contact with Special Olympics, I think my daughter was still in elementary school. I had a lot of confusion. And so if some of you who are listening are still in elementary, this is where it varies a little bit more because I feel like most high schools have unified. They do it. I think middle schools, it's much more common for them to have it. My particular elementary school didn't have unified sports. And so I remember being confused about it. So if you're in that situation where you're in elementary, it's possible that your school has embraced this concept and is doing it. But if they haven't, you can bring it up with them, see if anyone's interested.
It takes a village, right? You started to mention how like a teacher does need to be, we need a contact at a school, right? To get all the free curriculum that we give and training and all that. But they need help. They need coaches. They need drivers for sure. And then if you think about sports too, when your kids without any disabilities are on a playing sports in elementary school, they don't really travel to other, that's kind of a high school thing. Some middle schools do it, some don't. So it's easier to conceptualize at the high school. But we like to start as young as possible. Our preschools have programming. They have book clubs for young students to learn about like how to include someone who's different than you. And it's very unified because so many of our kids don't have any diagnoses when they're young, right? It takes a long time, depending on where you fall on whatever spectrum. Like sometimes it takes a while. So it's just everyone together. And this classroom is doing young athletes. They will be able to have a field day, that most common things that elementary schools do in general. I loved field day, right? Water balloons, tug of war, whatever else, right? Once again, we just say, hey, let's make it unified. How can we have all the kids participate in a way, whether or not they're in the SSN room or not? And so we work to like either educate on how to adapt, but usually it's just a conversation with some of either the PE teachers or the teachers themselves that are like, hey, how about this? How about that? Let's just bring on some headphones, whatever. It isn't that difficult. You just have to put some thought and effort into it, and then we help support that.
So I guess the advice to parents out there, if you're interested in bringing a program like this to your elementary school, if you feel like they don't have it, it can even just be lessons about inclusion and things like that. I'll put some links to Special Olympics, people you can contact. But really, like all things, start at your school, ask your teacher, have you heard about Unified? Do we do that here? Or if they don't, you can go up to administration and ask. But if they want support, it sounds like there are places within Special Olympics that can say, hey, let us try and support bringing curriculum into your school to try and add this.
Yeah. And we even have a state conference where we invite community members, family members, teachers all together to get training on it. For the teachers who do it, we provide continuing development units or PDUs or CDUs. You need certain hours. You can learn through Special Olympics.
So for Special Olympics, is it only for students or individuals who have intellectual disability, or is it more inclusive of more disabilities?
Great question. Special Olympics Unified is for everyone with or without a disability. No matter where you stand or sit, there's a spot for you. So you could be someone who has an intellectual developmental disability would be an athlete. A typically developing student would be a partner. And I'll take basketball as an example. There'll be 3 athletes on the court and 2 partners. And we will allow a 6th if there's someone who needs particular support or like being pushed in a wheelchair or something like that. But regardless, it's about half and half. And they'll play another school that's set up the same way, half and half. And that just creates teamwork, right? It's that equity. It's not one is better or worse than the other. It's our team versus their team. It's for everyone. I feel like it's really important to say that it's not just for the Special Olympics athlete, it's for the partners. So many times people find this is the space where I finally feel welcome and included and belonging. Because let's face it, sometimes school's hard. Sometimes middle school or high school, there's cliques, there's all of that going on. And the unified club or the unified team, whatever it's called at each individual school, is that welcoming space.
So there's a little bit of new information in there for me. I didn't realize that peer partners, like we should be trying to recruit them at the school level. Because at my daughter's school was really the only place I've experienced unified. It's just the students, and then there's EAs who are dedicating their time, who are there working with them. So that's exciting for me to know. That's an area within schools that we could try and promote and grow, because I know at my daughter's specific middle school, they have a very strong peer partner program. When my other daughter went to that school, really wanted to be one of those students that worked with someone with a disability, because she has a sister with a disability. And just like you said, it can be a joyful and beautiful space to fill up your heart. So that's something I'm going to bring back even just to our team and say, hey, we could be letting people know this is an opportunity. And maybe even for people who don't feel, they're like, I don't want to do sports, that's intimidating. But they're like, oh, here's a way that I can be giving back, but still get some of those beautiful benefits of the sports world.
Yeah, and you don't need to be an amazing athlete to participate, right? It's that balance between like you're trying and you're out there, and we do keep score and that kind of thing. Yeah. But also it's meant to be fun and learning and putting yourself out there. The Special Olympics athlete oath, which talks about bravery a bit. We really want to push people to be courageous. And I'll say the oath real quick.
Please
it's
do.
Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. So it's about trying and just being brave in the attempt. I might fall, I might skin my knee. And you're a parent, you know how hard it is to let your kids fall, right? But they have to try to be brave in the attempt. We recite it before all of our competitions.
Oh my goodness. That's like you could tattoo that on your body. It's
around the Special Olympics office, you'll find quite a few tattoos that say that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I love that. Briefly, we'd mentioned, Sela talked about the different types of sports that are out there. We are in a season system. Few questions about that. How long is a typical season?
It varies a little bit between school and community, but between 6 to 10 weeks.
Nice.
If in different ages, you're younger, you might just be introducing a sport through your PE, so it might be a little bit different. It's meant to be that long. And then if you go on to play like in a regional or state, it could get longer, but you don't have to. You could choose to just, hey, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Can't make it to that particular date, but this program is enough where my kid is learning and meeting new folks.
I do want to flag up for parents out there, if your kiddo's like mine and you're like, can't do that or wouldn't want to do. We participated in unified cheer for the first time this year, and very minor participation on her part. And I was usually hand over handing almost everything. But I let the coach know right at the beginning, hey, please don't work her into any routines, anything that was bigger and outside of that one little environment, because it needed to be the same time, the same place. If we tried to travel to a different place, my daughter wouldn't have tolerated it.
Sure.
And there's room for that. There's room for all abilities and participation.
Yeah. I like to say Special Olympics for all and Special Olympics for life. You don't have to be the one who can shoot 3-pointers, and it's challenged by choice. For a lot of folks, it's just showing up and sitting on the bench that day. And if that's the goal and that's the win, then let's celebrate it.
That is my child, and that is why we keep doing it. I'm sure there are parents out there like mine who's like, hey, my child wants to be on tech and blocking out the world. Anytime we leave the house, it's a win. Anytime we're in the community, it's a win. And this is a great place to go to, a very accepting and beautiful community.
I had a few parents, and they're like, oh, they're not really that good, or they might have a meltdown, or they might this. And after the first couple of practices, it's very evident that like, oh, we're just going to guess to see who gets the meltdown this weekend. You're surrounded by such an accepting community that it's okay that she's having a meltdown because she wore the wrong socks or whatever, right?
Exactly.
Like it's going to happen. It's just such a welcoming, soft space.
So for parents hearing about this, they're like, oh my gosh, what? This is amazing. This is something I could try, I could participate with. What is that first step? How do you sign up? How do you find information about Special Olympics?
So different ways. If it's through the school, go to your teacher and they'll be able to help there. You can sign up Special Olympics Colorado. It's a seasonal registration and you put in your interest. So basic info, just like you would sign up for, I don't know, the Rapids soccer club team. And you can say, these are the sports I'm interested in. This is how far I'll travel for practice, some of those types of things. And you fill out that interest form, seasonal registration, and then we'll get back to you on that. So it's pretty simple. Special Olympics is always free.
Which is insane. If any of you have kids that are in typical sports, that is not the same story there. They are very expensive.
And then once you get the information we have inclusive health program. And so we'll have a lot of screenings, hearing, vision. It kind of depends and it varies throughout the year. We try to offer new things all the time. And there are some amazing stories out there of athletes that were given glasses for the first time, or this happened internationally, but there was someone who had a headphone like stuck in his ear. He thought he was deaf in one ear for a long time, but there was just something in there, right? Because the level of care varies, right? Unfortunately, we know that people who are marginalized often have worse health care. And so we try to provide that all the time at our events. So even if you just want to sign up for one of these health clinics or learn about healthy athletes and those kinds of things, there's a lot out there that we try to reach.
My personal experience with Special Olympics, they're great about communicating with you. If you sign up, they'll start sending you emails about the things that are upcoming. They'll remind you of deadlines. There are things that pop up all the time. There are cool things that will pop up where you can go and interact with professional sports teams. If you just go online and sign that initial interest form, you'll start getting a lot of information to help you start to feel it out. And don't get overwhelmed. You can participate in as much as you want. Yes. I love that there is basically no cost, which is really amazing. As far as the parent responsibility, do they generally stay? Or is there any ask for coaching or volunteering?
It kind of depends, right? So some of these, they have their coaches, they're set up, they don't need more help. And other times we could use a little bit of help here and there. We have a system for that. We need to be safe and secure. So there's background checks and there's all of that. But I think all of us parents appreciate that. But yeah, we're always looking for that. And it doesn't have to be like, all right, 0 to 60, I'm head coach of everything. It could just be like, how about the parent that helps collect uniforms, or the parent that will bring a snack, or just like any other team, right? They're always looking for that extra support. Maybe they already have a program for one age group, but they want to build to a younger age group or older age group, and maybe you could help take that on if you're going to be there anyway with your kid. Different coaches have different ideas on like, hey, if you stand back here a little bit and you're further away, especially sometimes with our younger athletes, my kid always behaves better when she can't see me, right?
Mine too.
But other times when she was real little, they needed me closer by. She wasn't potty trained, like that kind of stuff, right? So some flexibility. But once they get into like, we're talking school age, but Special Olympics is for a lifetime. A lot of our athletes go on to coach or assistant coach or referee. There's a lot of different ways we want to keep them involved in a community. As they get older and older, a lot of the social circles revolve around a Special Olympics team. When you get into high school, there's promposals and Special Olympics athletes that are proposing to their other athletes, and going to unified prom, where again, it's oftentimes it's just prom, but they'll have like the first hour is lower sensory, the lights are on a little more, they have quieter thing, and then they're welcome to stay as long as they want. But for some, that loud noise lights is too much, and they'll have a sensory space off to the side if you need to just like, all right, I need to come down a little bit.
It's creating a little space, creating a space for this inclusion. I love the idea that like athletes move on to be coaches and referees, because that's exactly the same as the typical world, right? I mean, because everyone injures out eventually.
No kidding.
And so then you're coaching, which is awesome. Last question in the family segment. Are there opportunities for siblings to get involved or peers to get involved?
Yes, absolutely. So we talk about this if they want to participate on the team, right? And play alongside their sibling. with Unified. There's also the opportunity if an athlete chooses to play what we call traditional with just other athletes, we have that as well. So you can choose Unified or traditional depending on the ages of the siblings and stuff. So you can compete on the same team. You can help coach. You can volunteer. There's always something. We'll need scorekeepers, all the things that go behind any large tournament. We're always looking for help. Also, those specific, and I'll talk about the Youth Activation Committee one more time. It is a leadership opportunity, and it's 8th through 12th grade. So we try to get people to come in as a pair. We're not super strict about it, but an athlete and a partner from a school. They come and they meet other folks that are in the same boat from different schools, and it's done by region. So Douglas County would be in the Denver region, and then there's a state one too that kind of oversees everyone. They put on the Youth Summit every year where we have about 1,000 people that come together. It's a lot of fun. The idea is, what can we help teach our youth? It's run by our Youth Activation Committee. What can they teach so that you can go back to your school, try some new things? Like, oh, well, did you hear this school does a unified prom or whatever? Or did you hear this school does an assembly where they brought out whatever they did? So they're sharing ideas. It's about being an agent of change. Again, sports are wonderful. I'm a huge fan, but what I love the most is that you're making the world a better place.
We sort of touched on it throughout this conversation, but we're talking about transitioning out of the school years and into adulthood. And for most people, I assume, listening to this podcast, their kids are still in the school system. And it's an existential crisis worry for every parent who has a child with special needs is like, what does it look like next? And any program that extends into adulthood is so exciting to say, hey, we have another anchor. So tell me a little bit about what Special Olympics looks like post-school. What does it look like for the adults?
So when you think about transitioning out, if Special Olympics is something that you've been doing and that can still continue, it might shift. Some of our transition programs, 18 to 21, are looking into getting involved in some programs, specifically in Douglas County, but a lot of the other ones across the state do it. So there's things that you can do during that 18 to 21 transition program for sure. There's also Special Olympics College, which might be a little bit more difficult down in the South, but we have a lot of folks who they're done with high school. And you know, the signing days. So you might have like a baseball player who's going to play Division I baseballs on Kansas or something, and they sign and do all that kind of stuff. We do the same thing because that's what we want. We want it too. So we'll have this athlete was at Ponderosa, and he graduated. He had a signing day, and he is participating in bowling, and I want to say it's either track or soccer down at Colorado College. And so he had a signing day where all of his peers were signing to go play Division I, II, and III NCAA sports, and he was signing because he's going to be part of the Unified Club at Colorado College. Same pictures, same everything. They all had a little speech from their coaches. He had one too, that kind of thing. But if you take all of that aside too, there's community programs that you can still be a part of and play, swim, whatever it is, as long as you'd like to. There is no maximum age. But as I mentioned, you might be tired of playing basketball in your 40s and 50s, and maybe you coach, or maybe you help volunteer or help assistant coach a young athletes team. There's a lot of social aspects there too. There's Athlete Leadership University, which is a couple days program a year where they learn leadership skills, and you kind of choose your path, your major, so to speak, of how you want to stay involved. We have athletes that work here in the Special Olympics office, whether it's full-time, part-time. For our schools, we have a fellowship that's a September through May-ish, paid. Not a lot, but it's paid fellowship where we want our athletes to be part of the decision-making process, and we want their perspective because it's for them to ask them what they want. And I will say, if I think of our state games, winter games and summer games, while everyone does love winning medals and competing, I still think the most joy I see is the dance party every night. And we have to close that down, and we're like peeling people off the dance floor because they just have so much fun, and it's a community. A lot of our day providers too will have programs, whether it's like a Wellsprings or someone like they'll compete. And it's really up to them which sports and when. You can imagine that if you're someone who really likes to ski, I know Denver Parks and Rec has this huge snow sport program where they go up into the mountains and they ski at Copper on the weekends, right? So there's so many different ways to do it. We just want to be open and available and inclusive for all ages.
My daughter is only 14, but I've been worrying about it since, I got her diagnosis at like 3. This awful cliff that's coming, and you're like, how am I going to enrich her life? Because it's my job. I'm going to take care of her forever, and I know that. But I think that community, wherever you find it, is more important than anything, especially because I have a child who is resistant to it, who doesn't want it, who it causes anxiety, and truly trying to build into her the expectation that she needs to go and be involved in these things. I think that what it provides in adulthood, especially if we're talking about our profound disability people, is a community. They're not going to be employed, most likely. My daughter, an example, employment is not going to be that option, and we're looking for fulfilling and meaningful things to fill lives with. And I think that Special Olympics is this massive organization that is very busy. They're always doing something, so you have a great thing to be involved in, which is amazing.
Yeah, our challenge is to make that clear, because a lot of people just will assume like, oh, it's done. High school's over. It's done. Where others will feel like, oh, I can't start until I'm 18. So we try to really make those connections. Families, parents, caregivers are key to ensuring that, oh, this goes on for as long as we'd like, and you can take a season off. One year we took that year off and came back. And when she came back, it was such a joy. We want to be an extended part of your community and family. And we hopefully, always room to grow, but we want all of our events to be welcoming, inclusive, and adapted within reason. A bowling alley is always going to be loud.
Yep. Can't stop that.
Always going to have a weird red color to it in the lights. But, as much as we can, we try to make it as inclusive as we can.
Sorry, listeners, you probably heard me talk about it, but we like to talk about forever peers because there's so much peer partnering, which I think is beautiful and amazing. But as my daughter has gotten older and as I have built friendships within the special needs community, I feel like we're building those forever peers where when we go to Special Olympics or we go to our adaptive program at our rec center, it is the same people that we're seeing every time. And the joy that they are starting to build and know each other. And my child is not effusive, but the other ones that are, we're so thrilled and overjoyed to see each other. And more than just that, I've also built invaluable friendships myself with other parents who are walking a path very similar to mine. And so to find community for my daughter where she can unmask and be herself and no one is shocked that she's yelling inappropriate words or clothes didn't quite get back on after the bathroom or whatever it is, for me to be in an environment where I can unmask and I can share. And these are friendships that are unbelievably dear to me now. And that's who I go and hang out with and have drinks with, is the people that I met at Unified Sports and Special Olympics. And so it really is helpful, not just to your child, but at least for me, it's been unbelievably helpful to me.
And the siblings too, right?
Absolutely. And I think that sometimes it's hard to be social. This is one of the things where I'm like, if you can push yourself to try and even just be there and be around people who are going through something similar to you, it really can fill your heart and give you a little strength to fight another day.
To be brave in the attempt, right?
Oh my gosh, brave in the attempt. All right, friends, last I wanted to talk about barriers. What are some of the common barriers that you run into that people feel like this isn't for me?
Yeah, I think some common barriers are a misconception of age. Oh, I have to be this young or this old. You do have to be at least 2, so there is that. But also ability. Sometimes, and I will take ownership, sometimes we will put out the pictures or the video of like, wow, someone made a 3-point shot. Like, you have to be that good. You don't have to be that good. Or you can have different varying physical abilities as well and be part of it. We can make accommodations and switch things up so that you can still participate. So like, oh gosh, well, my kid just doesn't like sports, so it's not for her or for him. To which I'll say, what about eSports? Or what about leadership? Or what about this whole thing? It is okay if they just show up and do one small thing, right? To have different levels of what your goals are is what we're all about. Another one can sometimes be location. When we first started, we had to travel to George Washington High School to swim. And then found out that there was something half a mile from our house where she could swim. So we made that change real quick.
Yeah.
So those types of things. I have found there's a little bit of fear too. And I believe it comes out of love, right? So as a parent of someone with a disability and who's had health issues too, there's just that fear like, oh, it's my literally a baby at times, right?
Yeah.
When they were young, and are they going to get hurt? And that's a hard thing to get over because they might fall down and skin their knee. They might do the things. But sometimes you're in such protection mode. I just remember when Nadia was young, like she may or may not have survived her first heart surgery, like all the things. We were just trying to get her to be 9 pounds, right? All the things that you're trying to do. And I had to like really make a mind shift of like, she can do this. And one of the first times that happened, she was 10 days old and very complicated pregnancy, all the things. We went to a polar plunge. And so I'm C-section. I'm barely moving around. Barely. My husband did it. I watched from the stands. He goes in, but before he went and did the polar plunge to fundraise, the 2 people who led it was a police officer and then adult male with Down syndrome. I didn't know what to expect from my own. Like, she's 10 days old. Is she going to even survive? Will she be able to talk or not or communicate or walk or sing? Or I was so ignorant. I just knew nothing. And then the universe like shakes me by the shoulders and shows me this adult male who says the athlete oath, let me be brave in the attempt, goes into the ice water and like with a smile and is running around, and he happens to have Down syndrome, which Nadia has. And it was just like, okay, it's gonna be okay. And just last 2 weekends ago, she did the polar plunge. Mind you, it was 75 degrees.
In a warm winter.
Hooray for a warm winter. That was the one good time. But she goes into her knees, right? She raised money or whatever, and she had so much fun. I think a barrier is it's that protection. Not always, but sometimes. Also, sometimes it's not a lot of paperwork, but to actually go through and fill out the stuff, like, gosh, I can think of like, oh, I need to make that appointment for her vision.
And there is like a health form that you do have to get filled out, but Special Olympics does offer days.
So that has changed.
Is it really? Okay.
Yes. So you no longer have to have the doctor's signature.
Oh, wow.
We tried to make it more like when you sign up for club volleyball or the same kind of processes. Now, there are some little things like if you check a box that says a doctor said my kid shouldn't play sports, well, then we'll have to talk. Or like I've had a concussion in the last 2 weeks, that kind of thing. But overall, we've eliminated that barrier too, because that was a huge barrier.
Because you used to have to go to a doctor, or you guys would offer days where you could come and get your health clearance essentially. But that's cool to hear that's even easier now.
You still have to fill it out.
Yeah, just so that we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah, just like you fill out the health history before you go to your annual doctor's appointment.
I love that we brought up the overprotectiveness or even the underestimating of our kids because we have been in protection mode, and we will stay in protection mode and defense mode. But a skinned knee or even a concussion, which we're not going to get, is typical. My child got a concussion doing her sport.
You were talking about gymnastics, right?
I was like, oh my gosh, it's injuries all over the place. And so allowing for those life experiences. I think there's a reason they do more for their teachers for a bunch of reasons, but also it's because there's unlimited expectation from their teachers. Yeah. They're like, hey, we can do this. We can do this.
Yeah. I will say one thing, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. I will talk about Special Olympics till I'm blue in the face. So if anyone has questions, I'm always around. But it's just fun to talk through this. And we've known each other for a while. Our kids have known each other for years. And it's so great to reconnect and to just see the different growth. This is really exciting. I love what's going on here with the SEAC in Douglas County. And I really appreciate this opportunity.
We are thrilled. And you are the forever friend. Isn't it cool that we cannot see each other for years? And then we are like, and I run into Nadia, of course, all the time because everyone knows her.
I'm so grateful for the time at Castle Rock Elementary in Mesa. She'll be moving on to Douglas County, and they've already welcomed her. She's got a flyer to start cheerleading next year already. They are ready to go.
They're doing it.
We lucked out that we live here. I'm also grateful, and we'll push them to do even more stuff.
Exactly. If this doesn't exist at your school, we want to empower you. Come to your school with positivity and excitement, and always, if you can, offers to help because coming with a request or a demand is hard, but coming with a suggestion and here's how I can help you works. It works better.
Can I say one more thing?
Please do. Say everything.
So you're talking about the families and being involved and helping out. I went to the principal at Castle Rock Elementary and I said, okay, I'm a parent of a child who's in the SSN room. I'm wondering with PTO, can we make this a unified PTO? How can I help with this? And here I was originally thinking that it might be exclusive. Like, no, we want all the parents. Oh my gosh, thank goodness you're coming.
Yay.
So we do some work with PTO across the state. I feel like I had, for no reason, all internal, like, oh, well, I don't know, my daughter's experience is different, so I don't know if I should be on the PTA or the PTO. And that was like, no, I was so wrong. Like, of course, she's a student just like anyone else. So why wouldn't I want to be part of the vision?
Limited involvement in our school's PTOs from parents like us. For DCCAC, some of our focus this year is how do we build out into our community? And one of the places that we reached out to was our PTOs, because they're parent organizations just like us, and they care about kids, and we've had nothing but warmth.
For parents to get involved.
Sometimes if you come in with happiness and excitement and willingness to help, I think you guys might be surprised how a lot of schools
Couldn't agree more.
are willing to do it. So thank you, Stella, so much. We appreciate all of your time. I think that one of the biggest takeaways from today is that Special Olympics is not just about sports. It's about belonging and confidence and friendship and community, and it's something that could be part of our children's lives, not just during school, but all the way through adulthood. If you're a parent listening and thinking, this might be something that my kid would love, I think that we should do this, I'll get all of that information into the show notes on how you can get involved or even just start getting information about Special Olympics sent to you. If this episode was helpful, please subscribe so that you don't miss any upcoming conversations. And if you know another parent who could benefit, please share this podcast with them. That's how we reach more families who need support. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for listening. And as always, the path is hard, but it's way more fun with friends. Let's do this together. Until next time.